my friends, all of you people who have followed me for years. Happy Mother's Day to all those in America or all countries that are celebrating Mother's Day today. I just want to extend my love to you and thanks for raising the amazing humans that you have hopefully raised. Today, it's not really a Mother's Day segment, although I want to make sure that I acknowledge all the mothers before we begin. I'm going to share with you now why I'm doing this show. And I want to welcome you all. You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, the show where I have conversations with people around the world on any and every topic. Lately, I was sharing a series of experiences that I have had and continue to have. But today we're going to deviate from that and we're going to bring you more of a fun show. My guest today is very important to me for more reasons than one. I debuted my show, and let me warn you, you're going to be laughing because he's hilarious, in 2011. And I credit a lot of everything about that show to the person on camera with me now. He is Russian, and his name is Sergey. Sergey and his wife Angela were two of my closest friends. And today, I'm going to share with you how he ended up in America, and you will hear from him what his experience has been like living here, as in a few hours he is leaving to return to Russia. Sergey came to United States and in 2001 moved to San Francisco, where he attended Stanford University.
Carnegie Mellon University. Uh, Carnegie
Okay.
Mellon University.
Okay, so I met you while you were in San Francisco. Were you going to school at Stanford when we met?
I was working at Stanford.
You were working. Okay. So you know what? Let me welcome Sergey to the show, and then he can fit in all the missing pieces and correct me where I'm wrong. Sergey, welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn, a much overdue segment.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on the show. And let's laugh together, I guess, and share the stories.
So Sergey and I met at KMVT in California, Silicon Valley, where I debuted my show. He was working on different shows there, and I found out from a lot of different producers at the station that he's very good at what he does. And at that time, he was working at Google. So I thought, if he's working at Google, then he has to know a lot more about television production than I did. And I approached him and asked him if he would be willing to assist me in getting my show launched. Although I worked in many aspects of television, I didn't know enough to successfully launch my show. And that's how our story began. So, Sergey, correct me where I've been wrong, and then we can tell everyone, why you were in San Francisco and go from there.
Okay. Well, I guess the story begins a little before that. So, 1995, basically, I graduated from a university in Russia, Novosibirsk State University, for the second time. Because first time I graduated in 93 with a physics degree, and then in 95 with a master's in math. And basically Russia was going through a really hard time at the time. If you remember, Soviet Union just collapsed like about 4 years ago at that time. And essentially it was very difficult to find jobs or like find funding for science or anything useful. So I happened to apply to a bunch of American universities, and Carnegie Mellon University happened to accept me. Don't know why. Had no idea. But somehow they somehow out of all schools they decided to that I might be worth a shot. So that's where I went. I was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So first 6 years in the U.S. I spent in this nasty weather and freezing rain and what they call a city. Yeah, it's a big city, but it's kind of, I don't know, I found myself a little bored there. Anyways, not to bash Pittsburgh too much, it just doesn't jive with me that much, I guess. So after about 6 years, me and my wife finally had enough of it, and we fled to California on a truck with a cat that we brought from Russia, by the way. Anyhow, so that's yet another story. But long story short, so I found a job at Stanford, first as a postdoc and then as a research assistant. And that's how I ended up in California, 2001. Later, about 2005, I left Stanford and started to join companies, like I worked at a few companies around Silicon Valley. And by the time I think I was working at a startup, like a late startup, that's when I got interested in films and TV. So I went to KMVD station. That's when we met. That was before Google. So yeah, we did quite a few shows. Like I did quite a few, helped mostly on quite a few shows, and including yours, Jennylyn. We played a lot with equipment and setups and ideas and everything, and became friends. And you met my wife, and you guys became very good friends and all that, right? So and then I went to Google. By that time, I don't think I was already doing TV anymore. And
You
that
were
was my.
making movies then.
I was making movies, yeah, like there's no tomorrow. It was
Can I
actually
interrupt you?
yes.
Sergey likes to, he's very humble. So I'm going to insert when he is overriding key moments that I'd like to share because I was part of it with him in some of them. There is a company in San Francisco called Scary Cow, and they make short 10-minute films that some of them go to the Sundance Film Festival, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not sure they go to Sundance. There was another Slam Dance, I think it was something that
Okay.
was a mock-up of a Sundance. Although some of them might have made it there. Anyway, that wasn't a company, it was a co-op, kind of just a bunch of people, and it no longer exists. I think it died of COVID.
And so Sergey made one of the films that won one of the competitions, and I was really proud of him because I was there with them for some of the scenes. I was actually in one of them, although I think I had one line. It was still fun, and we spent a lot of time at Scary Cow in San Francisco, viewing other people's productions as well as just attending various festivals there that were related to the work he and Angela were doing at the time. I didn't want you to overwrite that. I thought that was important.
Okay.
So you
Uh,
can continue, Sergey.
yeah, well, okay, so what's next? Um, So yeah, so we did our last movie in 2014, and that was also the year when I joined Google. So I was kind of finishing up that film when I was studying at Google at the time. Um, and then yeah, that was it. I spent about 5 years working at Google, and I had to quit. Um, and a few years later, for personal reasons anyway, and a few years later, I find myself basically going back to Russia. So this is what, about 3 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock I'm going to the airport. So we better finish the show fast.
Yeah, let's put the gas on, Sergey.
Yeah.
So, Sergey, you and I and Angela have been close friends for many, many years. And I don't think I ever had a party and the two of you weren't there. Or some Saturdays and weekends we just got together and hung out together. And so I'm going to really miss you because although I relocated from San Francisco, we've always been in touch. And
Hmm.
whenever I have issues, I always reach out and you always help me to solve them, especially when they're TV related. So I'm very sad to lose you, and I know I'm not the only one who is going to be sad because you've played such a huge role in so many lives.
Well, you're not losing me. I'm just gonna be over the pond.
Yeah, right over the pond. Yeah, we'll just skip across and come and get you when we need you.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I wanted to do this show is because so many people play such instrumental roles in some of our lives. And oftentimes we say thank you and we move on. And
Hmm.
we forget how important that it doesn't matter how small the role may have been that people play, parts that people play in our lives that help us to get to the next level. And because I know you're going home to Russia and you most likely wouldn't make it back to the US anytime soon, I wanted to use this opportunity to let you know how much you influenced my life. And so, hence my first question.
Hmm.
What would you say to a young person, maybe not just coming to the US from Russia, but any young person leaving their homeland outside of the US to come to school here? What did you find the most challenging when you
Hmm.
first arrived?
Well, first of all, the US is no longer the same country as the one I came into. It's been 30 years, and the US is definitely not the same country anymore. So, especially for Russians, I would say think twice before you go, because in the 90s, yeah, it was all the hype, and that was probably the right thing, because for people who were looking for opportunities and had the smarts and the brains and the energy, the US offered indeed a huge amount of opportunities compared to Russia at the time. These days, I think it's becoming the reverse. So specifically for Russians, I would think twice about it. For other people whose countries are maybe not as fortunate, and the U.S. still has plenty of opportunities. Don't get me wrong. I love this country. It's uh, uh, it's been good and still has a lot of potential. So, what advice would I have? Stay busy. That way, you're not gonna get a culture shock. You won't have time for it. Just do what you have to do. Set yourself up for success. Get yourself ready for everything. Just do like your stuff, and yeah, be humble, aim for the stars, and Godspeed. So it's like any other place, basically. So it's just if you happen to know that the U.S. will offer you more opportunities than where you are now, and you would like to come in, then well, you'll have more opportunities. Make sure to check and double check everything before you like commit to any kind of schools projects, any kind of stuff that this country has to offer, because there's always a small print. The United States loves small print, right? And there are a lot of scammers and everything. That's as in all the other countries, I'm sure. So don't just assume that just because the US claims to be a civilized country, that everybody uh, is actually honest. So not really. It's like anywhere else in the world. People are people. So just watch out. But overall, in general, like people, generally speaking, are nice. Generally speaking, are trustworthy. You can trust a lot of people here. Um, and yeah, so just be nice to people; they'll be nice to you. Other than that, grab the opportunities, do what you need with them, and look for more. And not necessarily here, because it's just one of the countries. The world is huge.
So, Sergey, I know a lot of people from other countries because I've traveled quite a bit, a lot for my TV show. And I talk to people when I travel, either casually or if I go to do a show. And the ideas they have of the US, they're such grandiose ideas. And then some of them eventually get to come here and they discover very soon that it's not what they think it is in terms of maybe articles they've read or just the general perception. I know back in the day, long time ago, people who came here really came and made a huge success of their life. But now, if you just come here, either as a student or professionally, it's not as easy as it used to be back in the day. When you first arrived here, did you have any type of disappointments? Or did whatever expectations you had, were they met by your experiences when you first arrived?
I guess I wouldn't say I had any kind of particular shocks or anything. It's just part of it was that from the far, especially from Russia at the time, there were some Americans coming in there basically promoting uh, studies at American universities, promoting the American way of life. Uh, there's a political undercurrent under this, which I guess I'm not going to go into unless you ask specifically. I don't know how much we want to blow up the show with politics. But
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 let's face
anyhow,
it, politics is a big part of this. It's like
yeah.
almost no way to exclude it if you're going to be having a discussion like this.
Yeah, but anyway, so sticking to this question per se, so there were a lot, there were some, not a lot, but some uh, basically, I could even say propaganda of American way of life in Russia at the time. And of course, they wanted to present it the best possible way. So it's like all these ponies and rainbows and miracle land and everything is like wonderful and democracy at every kiosk on the corner, with every Pepsi. And uh, when you arrive, you just realize all of a sudden that, wait a minute, it's just in another country, same people, kind of, they speak a different language, but they do the same stuff. They they screw up, they don't understand what you want at first, or they think they do, and then they mess up. Whatever you buy at the store sometimes breaks in unpredictable ways, because it's not the highest quality always, especially on the students' stipend that what you can get. Uh, uh, I guess I was somewhat surprised by the food because you'd think you have some stuff in the store and they claim it to be like some. I think my famous story was a Miracle Whip. That was some kind of a mayonnaise of some sort, but kind of messed up mayonnaise, I guess. So we bought a can of it on sale once, and we tried it. It was like that was so horrible. Like, how would you like spoil such food such simple ingredients in such a way that like, it's unedible. So I guess since then we were like avoiding probably 90% of the foods that they were sold because they just didn't seem edible to us. Uh, Anyways, that was a little strange because in Russia quite often like a lot of foods, at least at the time, were like basically if it's on the shelf, it's usually like reasonable quality. I mean, it might not be like something out there, something nicely packaged or anything, but at least like you know what it is. Maybe it's just we know what it is and we just didn't buy the crap. But we had to learn sometimes the hard way, like what's good, what's bad, what you can eat, what not. So um, just about everything else as well, right? So how the banking system works, that was a little mystery at first, and then how like all these credit cards. Why do people live on credit cards here? Like in Russia, nobody did that. Like who would even lend you? Who would in the right mind lend you money just like that? Right? No, here in the US, they just give the money away uh, and then you have to pay up later. It's like, okay, whatever. I guess that's how they live. Yeah, and then they come up with all these programs for debt elimination and getting you out of it, and like uh, all kinds of credit cards are saying, "Oh, you transfer balance to us, you get 0% for a little bit, and then we rip you off." I actually played them up later when I had to move to California, and I didn't have enough money, so I just raked up a lot of debt on credit cards. And just switch the credit cards, transfer and balance with to 0% for a while. Because they offer it. What can I say? You know?
It's
Anyway,
it's interesting. So you guys don't have this kind of system in Russia.
not really. I mean, it is now. Russia has borrowed quite a bit from the West at this time. However, it seems to me, and I still need to learn that. I don't actually know exactly how the Russian system works yet. But from what I've seen so far, the modern version of it is like they eliminated some of the really insecure stuff. Like I don't think they have checkbooks in the banks because why would you, right? Why would you carry out essentially cash that you can write out, right? So if somebody steals your checkbook, they can basically write out a check on your name. Like that's silly. And signature verification is just not secure. So I know in Russia people just post their credit card numbers for not credit card numbers, the debit card numbers in public, saying that well you can wire me money at this number and it's a debit card number. No one can steal it somehow.
What do you mean no one can steal it? How do you
Like you can't
protect
steal.
that?
Yeah, you can put it up and no one can steal your money. Try this in the US. You'll be ripped off in like 5 minutes, right?
So let
Uh,
me stop you and ask you, what do you think the difference is? Why is that the
I'm
way?
gonna find out. There are some security checks basically that happen in the banks that are done in the modern way, how it should be done in 21st century. The U.S. bank system, of course, goes back to what 250 years ago, perhaps. So it still carries the legacy. So there you have it. Um,
Um, but Sergey, one of the things I really wanted to ask you,
yeah,
and I don't want to forget, and it popped into my mind while you were speaking. Are you ready to go back to Russia?
yeah. I've been
Why?
ready for a while.
And do you mind sharing why you're suddenly ready? Because I always thought you would always live here with us.
Okay, you want politics?
I want the truth. If that's politics, if that's an animal, we want to know why.
Well, all right. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So first of all, yeah, you already mentioned my wife. So she passed away about 6 months ago. So long story,
So,
had a long disease. That's why I had to quit Google a few years ago because I had to care for her, and I just couldn't do both caring and working. So fortunately, I had enough savings to last for a little while, so that helped. Um, Second of all, there was this Ukrainian war started about 3.5 years ago, and that really got under my skin at first. Like the first moment I saw that, okay, Russia like went into Ukraine, I was like, holy cow, that like in the whole Russian history of 1100 years, Russia never attacked anybody for no reason at all. Or there's always a very deep reason. There's always a reason to defend itself. Like there was no, like not a single time when Russia just went to grab a land just because it was there. It was always, so the way Russia grew over time was always through essentially diplomatic negotiations with the locals. Locals wanted to join Russia, and that's how Russia grew all the time. So to me, that was like, that is impossible. Like that can't happen. Like, why does it happen? This is like a betrayal of some sort. But pretty quickly, I realized when I started to dig, when I dig stuff for information, I dig.
I'm a
Okay.
digger too.
Yeah.
We have that in
And
common.
basically, in about a couple of days, like literally a couple of days, that all it took, that I discovered that it was essentially the US that attacked Russia, or provoked Russia, rather, using Ukraine as a weapon. And that's what I was telling anybody who would talk to me about it, like on the second or third day of that war. And I still, after like 3 years of like closely following it and really like digging in and really like finding out all the facts, I didn't change my mind. This is how it is. Turns out, just all the evidence supports that. In fact, they recently, in Trump's administration, right, the officials officially actually stated that. It blows my mind. They don't even care anymore. They don't even hide it. They just say it. So uh, to me, now that was a betrayal of the U.S. Right? So like this country, the U.S., essentially betrayed me by attacking my homeland. So at that moment, I realized that first of all, I don't like this country anymore. So this was all a facade. Like a lot of it was a facade. I tried to stay away from politics for all those years, almost successfully. But when this happens, when the politics basically enters your life on such a personal level, you can't ignore it anymore. So I had to find out. And what I found out, I didn't like a single bit. So that's, say, reason number two. And reason number three is, so it just so happened, unfortunately, that we never managed to start a family with my wife. So now that she passed away, in a way, it's a second chance for me to try to start a family. Now, starting a family in the US, especially in California, is a scary business. Like really scary. Okay, and here I'm gonna blow up another thing. So okay, so I guess the title of the show is "Blow My Cover," right? So the
My cover.
with all this LGBT nonsense and this transgender thing and puberty blockers to minors without telling the parents. I mean, excuse me, right? Um, I would be like shit scared to have kids in the US. Like seriously, right? I would not want my kid to be like taken or drugged or essentially castrated. It's what they do. What they call puberty blockers are essentially chemical castration drugs. Same thing that they give to sex abusers. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, it's
I
exactly the same.
hear you. I hear you,
Yeah.
Sergey.
So why would you do this to the kid? It's like they're going to be screwed up for the rest of their life. They may not be able to have kids anymore, right? So it's like it's basically elimination of like killing the population, right? It's effectively trying to kill the population. That's what it seems to me. Like I can't interpret it any other way. So in Russia, on the other hand, uh, the culture itself is still traditional. So they still know for the fact, easily verifiable fact, that there are men and women, and there's nobody else. That a family is a family between, it's a union between a man and a woman who have kids, right? So men can never get pregnant, don't even ask, as they do in health insurance calls these days. Uh, I had a really fun call just a few days ago with a health insurance representative. So he had to ask me if I'm pregnant. He laughs his ass off. I laugh my ass off, but he still has to ask. Anyways, yeah, I mean,
Wait, let's stop and back up. You
yeah.
got a call from someone who knows you're a man, but asked you if you were pregnant.
I mean, I was calling them because I was canceling health insurance because I'm leaving the country, right? And they had to go through this questionnaire. And yeah, he just goes on like, oh, I guess you're not pregnant. And I'm like, yeah, last time I checked. He laughs. I was like, I can't believe I have to ask this. Anyway,
My God.
yeah. Anyhow, so uh,
I have to stop you and insert an experience that I've had recently too. I went to my
yeah.
gynecologist, and they give you this paperwork when you come to your appointments, ma'am. You need to fill this out. And I looked at it, and I couldn't even believe I was being presented with a sheet of paper. The questions were beyond ludicrous. They were asking me questions like if I was still a woman, and it's about 14 to me. I couldn't even believe someone had the time to sit there and these questions. And I looked at the paper and I looked around the waiting room and I noticed all these women answering these questions. And I was so infuriated. I don't know where the fury came from. But I looked at it and I thought, I am not answering this ridiculous nonsense. And I took my pen and I drew a line through them all. And at the top of the paper, I wrote, I was born a woman. I have been a woman. I will die a woman. And I walked back up to the front desk and I gave it to the nurse. I go, ma'am, no offense. You're doing your job. I'm doing mine. Please don't give me ridiculous nonsense like this again. And she could not stop laughing. She called all the other staff around and they're looking at it laughing. And I thought, sorry guys, I can only be me. This is stupid. And listen, I do understand that some people make these changes, but the fact that we have to be subjected to that, I would hope those women who decide they want to be men will just come in and notify them so the rest of us are not subjective to this nonsensical questioning. But
Mhm.
anyway, yes, I hear you. I hear you completely.
Yeah. I bet they have your questionnaire like framed somewhere in their offices, just for memory,
Oh, I
just for the
should.
kids.
I should have go. Can I have a copy of this so I can take it home? I'm sure they told the doctor we had this radical patient who came in today and showed him my paper.
Next
But
thing
yeah,
you, next thing you know, it's a meme on the Instagram, the meme going around.
exactly. I went back to work and I told my coworkers about it, and they're like, "Only you, Jenny." But it's just like I have better things to do with my time and my ink. I'm not
hmm
sitting answering this nonsense. But you're right. This is the world we're living in.
Yeah. So basically, it's gonna be a lot easier to do in Russia, and I take my family seriously.
Yes. Well, we are really sorry to lose you because you are a good human. I know some very dark humans on this planet that run around acting like they're good, but they can only fool some people. So when we have the good ones like you, who have a pure soul, and you mean well for others, it's difficult to lose you. But I notice the good people are slowly disappearing, and we're left with the bad eggs. So, Sergey,
Hmm.
you have been here 30 years,
Hmm.
and I know you've touched many lives. I'm just one of many because you have many friends, and your phone is blowing up all the time because people don't want to see you go. I think that speaks for the person that you are. So America is losing a good human, and Russia is gaining back one of their own. When you
Hmm.
get back to Russia and people ask you about your time in the United States, what would you say?
I had fun time. I learned a lot. Now it's time to bring it back.
So you're taking your experiences and all those aspects of your life over 30 years that have helped you to become this version of yourself, older, wiser version, back to your
Hmm.
country, and you're going to give that knowledge to the benefit and growth of your country.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Correct.
mean, don't get me wrong. Like the US has a lot of stuff that was like cutting edge and innovative and uh, really good. Like technologies and like IT, whatever stuff, right? So I worked at Google. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff at Google, right? Obviously, I mean, there are some corporate secrets which I'm not going to divulge, but the overall knowledge, just experience as, how do you set up a system as complex? How do you keep things running? How do you make stuff, whatever you do on your phone, for example, right? How do you actually make it work? How do you make it so that, you don't have to read a thick manual before you open an application and do anything stupid? So it's actually very difficult to make things simple. And that's kind of experience that I have. So I think it's only fair that uh, I'll spread that experience, that knowledge of like how to approach, how to build system like that, how to do it, how to um, uh, what do I say? Basically, raise the next generation of uh, smart people, engineers perhaps, or maybe even you know, just people, uh, to help them grow up with, better knowledge, better skills, and make keep making the world a better place. So it doesn't have to stick. It doesn't have to be just in America, right?
Well, yes, because every single country in the world is a part of the world, and everything every human is doing and does, regardless of their location, is
Mm-hmm.
adding to the value or the demise of the world. And
Mm-hmm.
I know people like you and I have chosen to add to the value.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to ask you, your wife Angela was one of my dearest friends, and of course, she's no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you this question because I've never asked you off camera, and while you were speaking, it occurred to me. And I thought it would be nice for you to answer me and other people looking at this interview because we are all affected by the healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
How would you rate the healthcare system when you are alone in a foreign country and your beautiful young wife becomes ill with a terminal disease? What was your experience like with the healthcare system in the United States? And how would you compare the same situation if you were home?
To be honest, I don't know much about the health system in Russia, so
Okay.
I can't honestly compare.
Okay.
Um, I only have like some anecdotal evidence, basically. In the United States, the it's not just about my wife. So, I mean, she had a disease that basically had no cure. So, I mean, kind of unfortunately, perhaps, but it was like there were a lot of tests, standard tests that they did all right. Like really, honestly, honest to goodness, they just did the tests, didn't find anything. They couldn't really do anything about it, and eventually they just said, "Well, this is it. We're done. We can't do anything." So in that way, it was somewhat simple. Like the situation was like, even though it was a very tragic situation, right? It was relatively simple situation because it's like, okay, we don't know what it is. We don't have any tests. We're out of options to be done, right? The system that supports like palliative hospice care, for the most part, people who work there, they're amazing actually. So that they helped a lot. Um, However, the overall healthcare system is set up in such a way that it basically works as a machine. So it's not like individual people in there can be very human, and that's why hospices work because it's like usually it's a either relatively small company and then they just cater to you specifically, or it's a small team, like very specific people that come to you and they basically become over time they become almost like friends, and they basically cater to you too specifically, and then it works. But when you go to a regular doctor, it's a conveyor belt. Like the doctor basically goes like 15 minutes with the patient and just back to the office, writes up whatever next patient, and it just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. So they don't really have time. They don't have enough doctors, apparently. It's all very expensive. It's a business. They have to deal with insurance, which is another business, which again, it just piles up. They have to pay to the doctors, to the hospitals, to the insurance companies, to the insurances for the doctors themselves, like against malpractices and all, to the lawyers that keep suing them it's like a whole pyramid. It's like a whole huge ecosystem that just gobbles money, feeds a lot of people, but whoever actually cures people, right? Whoever treats them is like a tiny fraction. Like there's a huge pyramid over it, and it gobbles a lot of money. So in the end, we pay huge prices for the health insurance just to feed all this system. So, and that is apparently not going away because a lot of people live on it, and the government doesn't really want to change it. Uh, on top of that, so because it's the insurance that usually pays the money to the doctors and not you, it's the insurance that dictates what the doctors can and cannot do. And I personally ran into it. I also had some health issues like with my hearing, and it was a very similar story that I would go through some standard tests and then they can't find anything, they don't know, they just basically kick you out. It kind of goes to the ridiculous points that I went to a few doctors on my own initiative. I happened to have a long time what is it, family doctor who knew both of us very closely for years. So I just kept going to the same person. So she knew me quite a bit. So I just started to ask, can I try this doctor? Can I try that? Because I read up about my condition also, and I thought, okay, maybe I can fix it, this way or that way. Maybe it's this or something else, which the uh, the ear doctor didn't even tell me. I guess he's not allowed, apparently. And every time I would go to a different doctor, it's another joke of some sort. So like, one of them, like I would say, I have like hearing problem, and it kind of gets me, like tightens me up or something. I it really bothers me like that. It's like I don't know how a ear can be connected to an arm. I don't. I think they're completely separate systems. Like I mean, it's the same body. Um, Another guy who's allergist, I guess. Uh, he tested me for allergies. I was thinking maybe it's some kind of allergy, allergic reaction, immune disease, whatever. Um, he tested me for stuff and then didn't find anything again unusual, but says, "Oh, but you know what? Okay, I can't really help you with the hearing, but I have this amazing program that well, you don't have allergies for this pollen just yet, but just a tiny little bit. But I'm sure you're gonna have it. Don't worry about it." So just in to prevent it from happening, I have this very expensive and long program that you have to go through like for I don't know a whole year, and I'm like, and that's where he was like so eloquent, so like professional and like spinning it up. I was amazed. He was just transformed into this sales guy, like crazy. So I was like looking at that transformation, I'm like, okay, now I know what your real profession is. So uh
Sad, right?
yeah.
Well, I feel like some of these doctors, their hands are tied because they have to
Mm-hmm.
operate within the parameters, the
Yeah.
guidelines, and the protocol of the
Mm-hmm.
particular institution or
Yeah.
specialty.
Or the insurance wouldn't pay for it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
uh-huh. Another quick example is that that ear doctor I basically figured out, okay, so there are some other variations I can try to help my hearing. And basically, the medications are usually very uh, dangerous, like they have side effects and all, but I can try like herbs and supplements. Because actually, my wife was very much into herbs and supplements. She knew a lot of stuff.
she was a great researcher when it
Yeah,
comes
she
to
was.
that.
So she actually dug up quite a few stuff, quite a few things for me at the time. And so I went to the doctor and I basically listed him like, okay, here's what I found on the internet, like see if it makes any sense. Like what can you tell me about that? And each of those possible reasons for the condition, I can try just various supplements, which are essentially harmless. So the worst thing that happens is nothing, right? And maybe some of them will help. And he listened to me for about an hour, for which I paid about $200. And then at the end, he was like, "I like your plan, but I can't really, but I don't have anything to add to it." That was his summary. So, $200. Thank you very much.
Yep, that's kind of how it is here. Well, let's
Yeah,
hope it's a better system when you get home.
I hope so. Well, I'll find out.
Sergey, I moved from the Bay Area and I always miss it. I have some trepidation. I feel a lot of it is related to 30 years versus brand new starting again. Are you anticipating any type of trepidation when you get home?
Reputation.
Or
I
any,
mean,
you know what I mean? You know what I'm asking? You understand what I'm asking you? I know that right now, because for me, this was also true. It was exciting. You're moving to a new place, starting over again, and you lost Angela in San Francisco. So I would imagine that in itself is playing a part in wanting to get out of there because your life there was with her. So I would imagine it would be easier to escape from there so you heal and you move on. And she was a wonderful person. She's not going to be someone easy to replace, I would imagine. So there's that excitement about moving away from that because I would imagine the last 10 years don't hold very positive memories for you because you were taking care of her. And now you're excited to go. Do you feel like after you get there and you're settled, you're going to start missing some of what you had in California? Because that happens for me here in New York.
Well, there's a difference though, right? In some ways, it was not entirely your decision, right? You kind of happened to move here and happened to get stuck here. For me, it's a very conscious decision, right? And I do feel done, not just with California, with the United States.
Got it.
It's quite different in my opinion. Uh, and usually what happens in my life so far, I mean, again, I don't know the future, right? Whatever, it might happen. I might be I'm sure I'll be nostalgic about a few things, right? I'm sure I'm gonna miss some of it. However, in my experience so far in my life, whenever I feel that I'm done with something, like
Yeah.
I'm done with the company, done with studies, done with academia, done with making movies, even right, even though I totally love them, I usually don't go back.
Mhm. I understand.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
the
just like
same way. I'm the
yeah.
same way.
Hmm.
I understand it. I'm so grateful that we did this. I thought it would be more comical. It sort of took a serious turn, which
Yeah.
I feel like we probably needed this. You you needed to be upfront and honest about your feelings and
Hmm.
about leaving. And we are very sad again to lose you, but you're not losing me and the friends, the intimate circle of friends that you have. We will
Hmm.
always be here.
Of
Um,
course.
I sort of got some practice because I moved away from California and
Hmm.
I've been living here, so I've gotten used to, not hanging out with you guys as much as I used to. What haven't I asked you? Because believe it or not, we've almost been going 1 hour. What
Wow.
haven't I asked you that you would like to leave with people?
Mm. Well, since we kind of toned it into a little more serious than expected conversation, I suppose I would leave. I would like to leave the audience with this thought that this is what I find really helps me in my life. That quite often we get into situations when we don't really know what to do, what's right, what's wrong, what's the right thing to do, what's the optimal thing to do. What if I do this and then then it's going to be bad. What if I do that? It's going to be worse. But I need to do something, right? So how to make decisions? And I heard this phrase that really kind of stuck with me and really resonates with me. And the phrase was in Russian, but I translated it into English roughly like this. If you don't know what to do what you must, and be what may.
If you don't know what to do what you must and be what may. Correct?
Yes.
And Sergey want me to call this segment Don't Blow My Cover. Sergey, thank you so very much. I think I interviewed you once before on KMVT and our times on KMVT for the TV station, but I don't think you've ever been a guest on my show. And when you think about how the universe aligns things, you were the start of the show, and at your end, in the United States, we are doing a show. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know you're not ending anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Of
wherever
course.
Angela is, I hope she has been a part of this show because it was always the three of us.
Yeah.
God bless you, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And knowing you the way I do, you're going to nail it.
Thank
Whatever
you.
it is, you are going to nail it. And guys, I promised him I'm going to Russia for his wedding. I'll
Yeah,
see you
you're
when I'm
on.
in my dancing shoes.
All right. Thank you for
Okay,
having me.
Sergey, thank you
Have a
so
good one.
much. And we'll see you soon with another fascinating guest.
Hmm?
Thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired, and I'm pretty sure you will gather a lot of inspiration from Sergey. See you next time.